Welcome to Designing Motivation for All Learners. Section 3, Who are your learners? Learner Orientation. We will continue our discovery of who our learners are by exploring another facet of student behavior. Depending on the mindset, the self-efficacy, and the beliefs and ability of our students, they will approach learning in different ways. The more we are aware of how our students approach learning, the better prepared we are to intervene and implement appropriate strategies. What they say and the behaviors they exhibit provide clues as to the way in which they approach learning. You will examine statements that are representative of two different types of learners at opposite ends of a continuum shown on page 69 in your participant manual. As you read the statements, you will begin to see a positive or negative pattern in each group's approach to learning. Before we begin this activity, let's practice. Student A. This problem is challenging. If I use the notes I took yesterday, I think I can figure it out. On which end of the continuum would you place the statement by Student A? Student A has a positive approach to learning because he or she sees the challenge and problem solves by using a strategy with a desire to figure it out. Student B. This problem is insane. You didn't tell us we'd have to solve problems that are this hard. On which end of the continuum would you place the statement by Student B? Student B has a negative approach to learning because he or she sees the task as impossible, and instead of looking for a strategy, plays victim and blames the teacher. If you would like to arrange working with a partner, you may do so now. Either independently or with a partner, separate the statements into two groups based on how each student approaches learning. List the statement numbers you placed in each group using the graphic organizer on page 69 of your participant manual. Look at the statements for each group and make at least 5 generalizations about each group. Post your 5 negative generalizations and 5 positive generalizations to Modules Section 3, Who are your learners? Learner Orientation Activity Discussion Area. Please pause the narrated PowerPoint until you post your generalizations to the discussion area. Rather than referring to these groups of learners as having negative or positive approaches to learning, we will name each type of learner. A self-limiting learner. We refer to the learner who has a negative approach to learning as self-limiting. These learners put limits on themselves by the way they react and respond to learning situations. A mastery-oriented learner. We refer to the learner who has a positive approach to learning as mastery-oriented. These learners are oriented toward mastering the task by the way they react and respond to learning situations. The card numbers for self-limiting are 1, 2, 4, 7, 8, 9, 11, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, and 23. The card numbers for mastery-oriented are 3, 5, 6, 10, 12, 16, 20, 21, 22, and 24. Please pause the narrated PowerPoint until you finish reading the various generalizations. Please consider how they compare and contrast to the generalizations you and your classmates posted in the discussion area. You just analyzed some of the statements you hear from self-limiting and mastery-oriented students. Please turn to page 70 in your participant manual. Read each student's situation and write MO or SL to indicate the student's approach to learning. For example, what would you put for number 1 and why? The answer, mastery-oriented. She took control of the situation and asked for assistance rather than giving up. She problem-solved and got the information she needed to continue working. Please turn back to page 69 and write down any other generalizations that became evident from analyzing learned behaviors. The self-limiting numbers were 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, and 13. The mastery-oriented numbers were 1, 4, 10, and 11. The strategies used to motivate students at one end of the continuum will be different from the strategies used to motivate students at the other end. You will also have students that hang somewhere in the middle, deciding which way to slide. Now we need to refine who our learners are. This concludes learner orientation. Please go to Modules, Section 3, Who are your learners? The Learner Continuum.